Fuego muy caliente, bilingual, intelligente. Let's start tonight, there's no end day. Slow music thing keeps the rent paid. All up on me getting friendly. She's my little senorita.
We're live. All right, one hand crack challenge. We did it the last time. Josh, you go first. That was good.
That was a good one.
Ooh.
Weak. That was good. I didn't use leverage.
Get the foam. You got to get under it. You got to get under it.
I didn't get leverage. I should have kept it off my knee or off my leg.
Cheers.
Yes, sir.
Cheers. Yeah, late cheers on it, but appreciate you coming down or letting us come down, Doug.
Of course.
And ripping this.
This place is sweet.
We're at an awesome layout here. What's the? I don't even the district.
District.
Okay.
Strip district. Yeah.
Nice.
District
and,
apartments in the strip district.
Right. And it is an awesome layout. We got the city of Pittsburgh behind us. We got Doug Caputo here, my former basketball coach at the beautiful Westminster College of PA, and now current assistant Chatham basketball coach.
Yes, sir.
So I guess fill everybody in a little bit of what you're currently doing and podcast-wise too.
I went to the Rivals is what I did.
Yes, you did.
There was a little layover in between. But, yeah, over at Chatham, I'm in the admissions office full-time, but then working on the basketball staff. And then a couple things on the side, too, but one of which being running a podcast with Rising Coaches, like a coaching organization for help basketball coaches move up in the industry. And it's given me some good opportunities, you know, something to do on the side, as you guys like to do, just talk to people. Just talking hoops all day, so you know, how can that go wrong?
No, I mean, in basketball, I think it's like such a game, too, where you could just talk to people for days about, and like sports, like you always hear it's like an international language, so like you could talk about anything basketball wise, and it's like the conversation's awesome. What made you get into coaching originally? Like why coaching? Obviously you played, but
I always ask that question, so it's funny to have it flipped on me.
Yes.
To be honest with you, I had no intentions of going into coaching. It was always in the back of my mind, but I was never like, I want to be a coach when I get older. Like I never had that. But then as soon as you get done playing, I just had an itch, like a bad itch, you know, and I'm working a full-time job right out of college, a 9-to-5 sales job, and I'm like, this isn't it. So I start coaching a high school team, and every time you get on that floor, I just got that itch, like, I want to be here. So that's just kind of what started pushing me back towards it. And then head coach at West Mini called me, actually, and I should say the assistant called me, my former high school coach, and just said, like, hey, you know, we got a spot opening up. I'm like, you know what? Let's take this. I was working with the Cavs for a little bit, so that helped, you know, kind of be around. But then,
you're running the camps and everything.
Yeah.
That had to be fun. I mean,
it was cool.
And that probably like sparked it, where you were like, I got to get back into this.
No, for sure.
Yeah.
Like you got to meet Colin Sexton, Kyle Korver, all those guys would come to our camps. Never got to get LeBron. You know, he was always too high of end of a person to be able to bring back. But we tried to get Kevin Love a couple times. But yeah, it was cool to.
Did you ever roll out the ball and you were like, let's see what you got?
Go.
Yeah.
No, I didn't. No, I didn't.
Not in front of the campers.
Not in front of the campers.
Yeah.
I probably wouldn't even do it for my own personal ego, because that would completely shatter things. You know?
Right.
Like,
That's always the question too. I feel like is like, how many points would you score against an NBA player in one-on-one? And I mean, you've seen it, like the levels of basketball.
Wouldn't do it. Couldn't do it. I don't care. Like, I'll be the first one to say in a 5-on-5 game, I feel somebody would probably be like, I don't know this guy, I'm going to leave him open, and I can hit some shots.
Yeah.
If I'm being fully guarded, like a playoff game, like a Game 7 tonight, I don't touch the ball. I don't do anything with it.
Yeah.
No.
There's levels to it.
People don't understand how good these guys really are. Like,
It's a whole nother level.
Yeah. It's crazy.
And Brian, I think it was Brian Scalabrine that even said it too, where he was like, you can go down any lineup in an NBA roster and pick the 14th guy on the bench, and he's giving you buckets.
For sure.
And
Scalabrine used to go to parks and say, whoever wants to come play me. And he never lost a game. And it's just like,
yeah,
I'm sure there was pretty good dudes that showed up.
Oh, 100%. You look at Brian Scalabrine and you're like, yeah, dude, like I'm taking you.
Yeah.
And then he's like, yeah, no chance. The white mamba.
Yeah, no, there's no way.
Yeah.
No way.
So it was Kiski Prep. And then it was Westminster, and then Kiski. You were an assistant. You're GA. You were assistant at Westminster, right?
West Mini, I was a grad assistant.
Okay. And then Kiski, and you were living on campus down there as well, right? Got
Yeah.
to play some golf and everything like that. I remember.
That was awesome.
Yeah.
I had an apartment there was a little pond behind it with a water fountain in the middle of it, and it was like a college campus, you know, like
Yeah.
there was. You had there was a 9-hole golf course behind it, and it was completely closed, and nobody could go out there except for if you were part of Kiski. Now, people still went out there, don't get me wrong, but
Right.
like I went out there every single day. Me and a buddy I work with. As soon as work got done, went out, hit a couple balls around, get my workout in, and
That would have been
play.
perfect for you, Josh.
That would have been sick.
play a couple holes. They never upkept the course very well.
Yeah,
but
but it was there.
free 9 holes.
Hell
I'm not
yeah.
kidding. From my front door to the first tee box was probably not even 10, 15 yards.
I remember you sending me pictures. It was like literally in your backyard.
Oh yeah.
That
What
would be
is-
so hard for me not to like just goof off and not do anything.
Get
just
into
play
trouble.
golf. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
But so Kiski's like a pretty exclusive like charter school, right? And
Prep school, yeah.
and prep
Boarding
school.
We work
Yeah.
with a ton of international kids. So like especially from the basketball side of things, like we had kids from Latvia, from Spain, all over the place, India. It's just like you're working with all these kids from different countries and bringing them in. It's
Yeah.
cool. You know, we had 22, 23 different countries represented one year.
Wow.
Italy, we had a kid from Italy. That was,
That's insane.
That was my guy. Because I'm like, now I got to hook up over if I ever go to Italy.
Right. It's on a bucket list. I wonder how was it like trying to communicate to all of them too? I mean, with all the different languages, did they have English as a second language?
They had to have an ESL score, like English second language score. You had
Before
to be able
getting
to
in.
be fluent to be able to come in. Like
Yeah.
it was broken English. Don't get me wrong, but you could get your point across. And imagine going where you're at now and traveling to, we'll say, Spain to go play basketball at the age of 13, 14 years old.
It's crazy.
You're scared, so
Yeah.
they just need somebody to take them under their arms and be able to be like, no, you're going to be good here. Like, it'll work out.
Right.
You know?
And I feel like basketball too, you can draw up an X and an O on a pad and show them what to do, you
Yeah.
know, but I mean, obviously if you're trying to help them out, help them in life, like as a coach, like it's hard to really connect a whole lot, but I mean, basketball,
They're-
you could still teach them the game, you know?
Yeah,
Which
it was
is
more
cool.
than coaching at that point because it's like these kids, you see them on a day-to-day basis. They're in their dorms, and I had an apartment that was like right next to my dorm. So I had to, if those kids ever had any problem, they knew how to get a hold of me, and it was like, it was a pro and a con at the same time. You get a kid calling you at 11 o'clock at night. I got locked out of my room. Like, oh. But at the same point, those are some great kids. Like there was some phenomenal names that I got to meet out of it. Like some guys who were very. It's an expensive school, so I got to meet some. Being in the admission side of things and being a coach too, you get to meet some cool people. Like
I
there was a
bet.
couple former NBA players
Wow.
from Cleveland, Ilgauskas.
Really?
His son came in, played baseball, adopted son from back home. So, yeah, he from Lithuania, and he next
Came to
thing you know,
Kiski to play baseball.
baseball. Get an
Wow.
email, and I'm like, the girl I work with goes, "Do you know who this is?" My eyes shot open. I'm like, "Wait a minute, that's not real." So it was his wife at the time was always connecting because of course they don't want to send their personal information out. And then some things spiraled up, but yeah, I started getting a hold of Z, and now he's just a cool dude.
That's
I've
awesome.
been staying in touch with him. He's a nice guy.
Wow. Is his son a stud at baseball, I'm assuming? Is he?
He was a good baseball player.
Yeah.
He's at St. Vincent now.
Oh, cool.
Yeah.
Nice.
He was good. Just had a lot going on with his life, so it kind of hard to keep moving where he's at, but he's doing good.
Yeah. That's awesome. What's been the highlight of your coaching experience so far?
Man. I mean, I'm gonna sound weird saying this, but like the people that you meet, I'm gonna probably say that another 10, 15 times this whole thing. It's like the people that you meet, the connections that you meet, and just relationships. It's huge. So like going throughout just a small round orange ball, and that brings you to. I mean, I was just in Phoenix not too long ago, and then it's going to be Vegas soon. Like, it brings you all around the country, brings you all around the world, and it gets you the opportunity to be able to meet all these people. So I would say the best is just being able to meet people, get a ton of connections. Obviously, winning a couple championships is always fun, 2 for 4 in the conference in
There
the
you
PAC.
go. Right. I mean, the turnaround at Chatham was just like crazy too. I mean, Wood Richards win a championship his first year that he was there.
Yeah, first year at Westminster, too, and he was a Westminster grad.
Really?
He went
Wow.
to Westminster.
Yeah.
Just always comes back full circle to Westminster, huh?
Yep.
The Westminster way.
Yeah.
Chatham was an all-girls school at one point, right?
Till 2015.
Till 2015, then they switched. Now they're okay.
Yeah.
I just want to make sure I had that right because I thought that was the case.
Bethel alumni Anthony Bomar, first championship team.
He was.
Anthony and then Nicholas. Nicholas
brother
won
followed.
2, right? First
He
one to
won
win
his
2.
first one, and then he won with me the past year.
Yeah.
Or a year ago. Yeah.
That's sweet.
Guys are some winners, man. The 3.
We got a good coach.
Is that the strategy? All right, playing Chatham and like always game prepping before Chatham was these guys get up a lot of threes, quick defense, get the ball out and go. Is that still the strategy?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Very similar. I told Richards all the time, like, great guy, love working with him. And I told him, too, I'm like, just so you know, when I was at Westminster, we hated you. And it was a respectful thing. Like, I'm not saying that disrespectfully, but we hated you because you were good at your job.
Very
like, we didn't
good.
know how to stop you. You know, like, you have the guys, you have the X's and O's, his mindset, everything he does, his preparation before games is unmatched, at least that I've seen. I'm sure there's a lot of people that do similar things at higher levels, but that I've seen, you know. So for him, I'm learning a ton just being able to be with somebody like that. And the thing is, too, he's a Division III coach, but he's been at Division I and
I was gonna say
multiple levels, and he's learned from some great coaches in the area, Robert Morris, Merrimack, you know. So just to be able to take what he's learned and kind of build off of that, start to build my own resume a little bit. It's been nice.
Yeah.
That's sweet. Did you find it hard to transition from playing to coaching initially, or did it just come naturally to you?
That's a good question. I wouldn't say it was hard. It's the same game. It was different. You know, like you're still talking the same thing. You're still looking at the same thing that you see, but it's different because, one, you can't physically be out there playing, which what you want to be doing. And then, two, it was hard to transition your mindset to, like, all right, well, you see something in a game and you're like, all right, well, I'm going to make sure I'm going to remember to do this next time. Well, now you got to be able to not only see it, now I got to go tell you and make you understand it the same way, you know, because we don't see the same things all the time.
Right.
Yeah.
So it's like now I got to completely change and find a way to be able to communicate that.
I think that's what would be hard for me is like I think I could see things in my head, but don't always know how to like get it out of my head and like explain it to the next person to like so it makes sense. So that would be a big obstacle on my end, I think. But
you got to be able to communicate it.
Right.
That's the hardest part. It's like, all right, well, look, this is what I'm seeing. Next time you're out there, make sure you're seeing it this way. And if something changes, but the thing is, defenses changes, situations change. You can't tell people like, hey, this guy's going to do this every single time. The next play is going to be completely different. Now he's going to see something different. So now you got to teach him like
how to make reads.
Exactly.
Right. And like that's such a good point too. That's like anything though. Like trying to teach it versus like doing it and communicating it effectively. It's like a whole
And some
other
people are
experience.
just really naturally good at that. Like they can just explain it in ways that like, oh yeah, I got it. And then obviously get into like visual learners and like people who can just hear it and they understand it. It's an interesting topic for sure.
Yeah. And I like hating my mom's a teacher, so I might be biased when I say it, but like the always like people that are like, oh, if you can't do, then you like teach it, you know? And I don't agree with that at all, you know, but
no.
at the end of the day, like you still need to know how to do it and you still need to know how to effectively communicate it and like a way that somebody can, I mean, understand it, you know, and then reciprocate it. So
and that was the biggest thing I learned while being at a prep school too, was you're working with these kids that speak broken English. So now you really have to over communicate to them. Like, hey, this is what you're, you know, you got to talk to them because they're looking at it, especially international. They are completely way better than, at least from what I hear from working with these coaches. You know, I obviously don't have too much of experience with it, but they do more of like Luka Doncic, you know, Nikola Jokic right now. All these guys international coming over, because what I've learned is they do more. They have 6 practices to 1 game. We do 6 games to 1 practice. So they do basically the exact opposite, but do way more practice, do way more individual skill work. And nowadays, AAU, all that stuff, you got all these guys who are like going out there doing their own thing. You know, they're playing more one-on-one because they want to get the looks for everybody. They want to get those college looks and opportunities. And I don't know. That's
why those guys are so much more skilled, I think, too.
Yeah.
Is they have the proper footwork. They have the proper fundamentals. Like you look at their shots, I mean, sure, there's some guys overseas that have like goofier shots, but I mean, like their game is just very pure. It's simple. Like they know their spots too, and that's like all practice. And then you have the people that come in to like the AAU games and stuff. Do you think AAU has somewhat tainted basketball a little bit and ruined it?
Oh yeah, tremendously. Especially just because, like we were saying, like you get teams. Yes and no.
I'm gonna do like a fist away because I'm not sure if I'm
you
hearing it.
Is that better?
That's perfect.
Okay.
That's perfect.
I was like
yes losing
no.
you in the headphone a little bit.
No,
But
you're good.
Keep going.
I'd say yes and no.
Okay.
Just because, like, yes, primarily because of what we were saying, a lot of people they just want to go out there and they want to get their offers. They want to get their opportunities. And it's just like me. And you'll find the good AAU coaches who will pull guys together and say, like, no, this is about us. If that's not the case, then get out of here, you know? So when you get those good teams, I don't think it's tainting it, but I think a majority is yes. I think it's ruining basketball because now you get the parents in the stands screaming, "Oh yeah, that's my boy. He's getting 20 a game," and it's just like, but we don't care if you're getting 20 a game.
Right.
You gave up 21. You lost. You know, like
exactly.
Yeah.
And I always thought too that even like high school basketball, that was always the thought is like I need to score 20 a game or I'm not going to get looks. And my thought is, you need to, especially around Pittsburgh, and I think that you could speak to this too, even Ohio-wise, that you need to get to the championship level games and you need to get to the state championships if you want to be considered like in that top tier, like D2, D1.
Yeah.
Do you think that's the case? Because I think like colleges, and I mean, you recruit guys, like you want to see guys that win.
Oh, for sure. You want guys that win. I mean, you'll find a dime a dozen. If you're contributing to a team, like if you're an absolute stud and you're contributing to a team on a regular, you're going to win, you know, in an extensive way. I mean, obviously, if you're going out there dropping 20, 10, and 10 and you're not winning, something's wrong, you know, and it's not necessarily maybe with you, it's with the people around you or the way that you're doing things. But yeah, I would say for the most part, it's a lot of kids are more inclined to make it to that better level or that next level if you're being more successful. Like the more successful of a team you are, more successful that you're going to be, right?
Yeah.
Whether if you're just going out there giving 10 assists a game and not dropping any points, people are going to have eyes on you if you're winning games.
Right.
Yeah.
You're the fundamental point guard.
Yeah.
You know.
Shit. You get a heck of a career out of that. You know, Jason Kidd, Steve Nash. Like, yeah, they could score, but what are they known for the most? Being able to pass the ball.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Man.
What do you think, kind of how you've stumbled into coaching a little bit, wasn't initially like what you thought you'd be doing post-school? What do you see your career trajectory being now that you've been in it for a little bit? Like, what's your goal overall?
The goal, it's tough because right now I'm in a good situation, so it's just like learn as much as you can because, like I said, I got a good coach. Learn as much as you can. And people always say, oh, you're at the Division III level. It's like, but you don't understand how much, like, I'm learning more at the Division III than most kids are learning at Division I and II because they're managers or they're doing little things. And don't get me wrong, that's great. I'm not belittling higher positions, obviously, but I do what a director of basketball operations does at a high Division I school. So you order the food, you make sure all the hotels, buses, all that stuff is fluent. Then you also got to do the scout reports. Then you also got to do, like even maybe do the laundry some nights. And then you also got to do this and that. And it's just like we're on the court as well. Director of basketball operations at a high-end school can't do that kind of stuff. So it's like you get a lot more opportunity at a lower school. Now, going back to your question, I would say for me, I would love, ideally, be at a high Division I school.
Right.
That would be the ideal position. But this rising coaches thing, I'm confident in. Ride it out with them, see how that goes, and I think. But I would love to keep moving up the ranks.
Yeah.
Basketball coaching wise, anyway.
Right. It's awesome.
Building up, I feel like it's such a grind too in the coaching world, and like you said, I think that it's valuable to get as much experience as you can at the D3 level. Like you can wear a lot of different hats. And, I think people like often discredit that, and it shouldn't be the case. Like, cause it's a full-time job. Even as a player, it's just, you're going through the same exact schedule as D2. Like my sister played at Edinburgh and like the schedules were the exact same.
Oh yeah. And some of the best coaches that I have interviewed, Brad Stevens started in Division III, played at Division III, right? He quit his full-time medical sales job to go take a position with Butler as an unpaid intern and working at Applebee's. Now, he never started at the Applebee's, but he took the job at the Applebee's, and then the head coach, Coach Mata, ended up saying, you know what, you don't need to take that position anymore. And then also, like, my co-host, Alan Major, started a Division III school. Matt Painter, head coach of Purdue. He started at Washington Jefferson right down here in Pittsburgh. That was his first job out of college. He drove a forklift for a full-time job and worked as an assistant coach at Washington Jefferson, unpaid coach.
Wow. And you're following the same trajectory. I mean, it's like you got to pay your dues, and it's like anything too. And I think a lot of people don't always want to pay their dues.
They just want to get right to the top.
Yeah.
Instant gratification.
That is the number one thing that I have learned is instant gratification isn't a thing. You know, like you see, because it's social media that's completely tainted us. You see all these people posting stuff and saying, "I just got this." How many times have you posted something on social media that was bad?
Honestly, never.
Right.
Yeah,
you always
never.
are doing the quality control. Make sure I'm looking good. Whatever this is looking good.
I want to have high followers. I want to make sure
I get a lot of likes.
Go unfollow people so then your ratio looks better. Little crap like that. Like, everybody wants to look better on social media. Nobody wants to put the bad things on there. So you don't really realize half the crap that all those people are going through that they don't talk about. You know, they might have got this big jump in a job, but it's like, okay, what did they have to do to get there?
Yeah.
You know?
Right.
Yeah, we as a society, we just forget that a lot, and we just jump to like, well, this person just posted this new car that they just got, and you're like, damn, how'd they do that so fast? So you're right on there. Like, instant gratification's a big issue in our society. Social media doesn't help at all.
I hate it
with it because it just amplifies it, if anything. So yeah, people don't realize the work that goes into some of these higher position people that have worked up to like big coaching jobs, big corporate jobs, athletes that have made it to the next level, all that. They just don't see it.
True. It's like, even with basketball too, I mean, I remember like going on YouTube and watching like Ball is Life highlights, and now it's like all you have now is like your feed is like Instagram highlights, House of highlights, Ball is Life highlights, like on Instagram. It's crazy. And then, I don't know, funnels into like people changing the way they play because they want to make a highlight tape too. It's like everybody
they
wants
want
to
something
be that
flashy to put on social media. A nice highlight.
I mean,
reel.
you even see it too with like football and all the other guys too.
Yeah, there's a lot of guys that are like hitting you up 20 minutes after the game's over. Like,
you got
hey,
my highlight.
You got any clips today? I'm like, game just ended, dude, and you lost. It's like,
nothing would crack me up more too than like the people that that would do that, or if it was like after the games, they're like, "What was my stat line?"
Yeah,
I'd be like, "Dude, are you for real?"
Yeah. No, I hate it. I hate it. I mean, to be honest with you, we don't even look at we don't look at highlight tapes. Anybody sends those in an email, don't look at them.
Yeah.
Because I mean, same thing in social media. You're gonna put everything good on there. You're not gonna show how many turnovers did you have, how many times did you get beat off the dribble. You know, like little things like that. They don't put that on there. Well, that's what we want to know.
Right.
Like, what are your weaknesses too?
Exactly. You want to go and see the full thing. How much has Division III basketball changed from whenever you played to where it is now?
I want to preface this by saying it hasn't been a while since I've played.
I know.
It's only been
I'm
7 years.
I know.
No, but I wouldn't say it's changed a lot. I mean, the game's definitely changed. Like, we had true centers when I was playing. But the game overall, not even just maybe not Division III, but game overall has definitely changed a tremendous amount.
Yeah.
You know, like how many in the 80s and 90s did you really think people were going to be pulling up from 2-3 feet in front of half court to be able to hit those threes on an ease? Let alone 3-point line being back another 4 or 5 feet from what it was before.
No.
You know.
No, it's insane. It's absolutely crazy.
And especially, the game's going to it's going to change way more. How? I don't know, but I can tell you it's going to get a lot more digital. You know?
think?
I think so.
Like analytical wise, like
it's really analytical now.
Now, right?
But like, for instance, one of the people that I interviewed recently, that we haven't released it yet, he's the assistant at the San Antonio Spurs. And he's the guy who they now have one guy on the bench who sits behind the head coach. So he sits right behind Coach Popovich. And his job is to, anytime that there is a out of bounds, challenges and stuff now, he's the guy they look at. They're like, hey, should we challenge this? And he has to look. He has to rewind it real quick, play it, and within a split second have to say yes or no. So he's the one who completely goes off of who they challenge, if they challenge it or not.
Wow. Do you think that's fair, though? Like, do you think, I mean, if all teams have access to it, I guess, but I don't know. I feel like it ruins some part of the game. Like, if you could instantly replay it and then go, challenge this. I mean, it's like this stuff with the NFL, too. Like, they're up in the box.
That MLB, the strike and ball calls, it's like, It's getting almost too analytical.
Do you think too much AI and analytical in the game will ruin the game?
I'm big on the natural, like, if the ref makes a bad call, he makes a bad call. That's the game of life, you know?
It's part of it.
It's part of it.
Right.
But at the same point, now you're getting, at the higher levels, maybe not Division 3, Division 2, but you're getting those people who are now, there's money involved with it. You know,
True.
they're betting on it. They're doing all these, like, all this other things. So now I think it makes a little more sense. Because now you have to keep those people accountable.
Right.
You know, like, oh, well, you made a bad call, but these guys had, you know, this was money line right here, and the reason we made it was because I had about $10,000 on it. So.
There's $5 million on this here out of balance play.
Exactly.
It's insane. Do you think it's gone too far with NIL? Is there a point of return with it?
I am not an advocate of NIL. Now, don't get me wrong. I would love to be making the money playing. Like, I think it's, if I'm a kid, for sure I'm going to chase that money because you want to take care of your family. Like, why wouldn't you, right? I think it's completely ruining the game because what it's teaching people is, you're not happy, go find something else. You know, like in a job, what are you going to do? If you're not happy, you can go find another job for sure. But you're just going to keep bouncing. And ultimately, you're going to find that person who says, I don't want you, who's going to keep bouncing.
Right.
Like, I look at it. You've been at 5 different jobs in 5 years. Like, kind of a red flag.
You're a flight risk.
As a young kid, maybe not so much because, you want to find out what you want to do. But then once you get your 30s, 40s, but like going back to being a player, you're going to keep bouncing around trying to find the money, the best. And again, it makes sense for the kids, but it teaches them, I think, not the best habits for the long haul.
100% agree.
Yeah.
And there's only so much coaching you can do, I think, whenever a kid's coming in making $8 million in NIL and you're a coach that's making less. You know, like, what are you gonna tell me? Like, I'm rolling in here in a Lamborghini. Like, there was a kid who literally signed with Alabama. I saw that pulled up to his signing day in a brand new Lamborghini.
Yeah, that's crazy.
They said, I think it was Saban and I think it was Coach K that was telling it too. Like, that's part of the reason why they got out of coaching.
Mm-hmm.
You know, it's because they were involved in it whenever it was back doors. Like, you were still,
they still did it,
right? 100%. But
not
it
all
wasn't,
of them, but a lot of them.
Exactly.
But then also, like, you got all these kids making all this money, and what are they doing with it too? Are they doing good things with it, or are they probably going to dig themselves in even more of a hole because they're going to do some stupid crap with it?
Yeah.
Exactly.
You know, like
that's what I always thought about with it was like you're giving kids like tons of money at a age where they may not know what to do with it yet.
They
and
probably
it's
blow
like
it all.
You're just setting them up for failure.
You
almost.
give an 18-year-old $8 million, what's the first thing he's going to do? You think he probably, if he's a good kid, probably go pay his parents stuff off, houses, get him into new stuff like that. Okay, you just spent $1 million on whatever. You got 7 more. What are you going to spend it on? We go buy some nice car, buy a bunch of nice stuff,
car,
which,
nice
that's
place.
Fine. Yeah, that's fine. But at the same point, like, what about set yourself up for the future? Because you're only going to play the sport for how many years?
Right.
You know,
Right.
1, 2, 3, 4, however many years that you're in it. You lose all that money, you're bankrupt.
Exactly.
And now you just, what was the point of doing it?
18 at an athlete, you're not thinking, oh, let me put this in a mutual fund.
Yeah.
You know, you're
Trust fund.
No.
You're going, I'm putting this into a freaking Rolls Royce.
Right.
That's it.
That's the first thing that comes to mind.
Trick out the wheels.
Yes,
put a moonroof.
exactly.
Yeah.
And then I'm rolling into college and I'm the man on campus
For sure.
in a Rolls Royce. Do you think there's a way that they fix this?
The only way I would think would get rid of it.
Yeah. Roll it back to
And
an extent.
You got
Yeah.
to think, too, all the high-end schools are going to get all the high-end recruits now because they have the more money. They have the better NIL deals. Like,
Exactly.
so now those high-end schools are just going to keep soaring with it. Those low-tier schools, they're going to be it's going to be a lot more harder. Like, how much money can you get me? You can't give me anything. Well, I'm not going to talk to you. I don't want you.
100%.
We have an NIL at D3. We have a couple guys that are on a little.
Really?
Like,
Yeah.
West Mini just picked it
Westminster
up.
just launched a
Oh,
NIL
that's right.
thing.
Yeah,
I
they
forget
just
what
picked
it's
it up.
called. The I don't know, something Titans.
Mm-hmm.
How does that work though now?
You're just
It's
looking
a
for like
pull-
local businesses that want to do like, oh, we'll give the team new shirts or whatever,
Yeah.
and like fund it,
And
put
then
our
they
logos
put
on
their
it or
logo
whatever.
somewhere on the court or whatever.
Yeah,
Interesting.
I
So
mean,
there's a pool of money
at
basically.
that level, I guess D3 where it's like money's tight a lot of times. I guess it could help in some ways if it benefits like a bunch of different players versus just one, but. At the high level, it's gotten out of control very fast.
Yeah.
So it's gonna be interesting to see how it changes.
Yeah. It might take like a bigger body, even like than the NCAA stepping in too. I'd
could,
imagine.
yeah.
I don't know, because like they unleashed it and let it go. You know, now it's like, oh, what do you do?
That's why the portal's so big, is because of money.
Yeah.
You know?
Everybody
One of
wants
the
to test the waters.
Yeah. Let's see. Well, I mean, there's so many kids in our conference right now at Division 3 that are saying, 2 of them specifically, I won't say names, but 2 of them have left the schools that they're, or in the portal from the schools that they're at, to go somewhere else because they feel that they can go make money.
Really?
Maybe they could. I don't know. But right now, it's been about a month or 2 that they haven't got any bites. So, you know, reality's hitting, and now what are you going to do?
Yeah, reality check. Yeah, 100%.
Yeah.
I guess this gets to the Stoney story part.
That's what I was just about to say.
Of the podcast.
Yeah.
And we want to know more. I'm about to crack open another one of the Stoney story. Brought to you by Stoney's Beer, brewed in Latrobe, PA. Give us the breakdown on the podcast, and how do you go about getting these awesome coaches on your episodes?
So I'm very fortunate to be with good established people in the industry. Like our owner of Rising Coaches owns multiple companies. This is just one of them that he bought out to help grow the company. This was already an established company that people grew. He bought it out, owns a couple other companies, Pure Sweat, and some other basketball organizations. But he knows a ton of people. One of our other guys is a former coach at Ohio State, Xavier, Texas, Pacific, like all over. He's been with Coach Mata all over the place. He's my co-host, and he has been in the industry for a while. He knows all these people. And then I've been fortunate to be with these guys. Like I said, we went down to Phoenix. I got to meet some people down there. We're going to Vegas soon. So it's like you're just meeting all these people everywhere you go. So really, to answer it, like, just been fortunate to be able to have these good people that know everybody, and then they introduce me to them. And then I just set them up, or Al Major, the co-host on there, also sets them up, and we just go from there.
Sweet.
Shoot some shots, LinkedIn messages out too.
Like,
I haven't had to do that yet. We've been fortunate that everybody we've had, it's just been like shoot a text over and they hop on. But I'm starting to shoot out some LinkedIn, some Instagram DMs. They don't hear from me, or if I don't hear from them, give it another month, I hit them again. The persistency.
Yeah, persistency.
Give me an answer, or I'm not going to go away.
Exactly. And I mean, I think that speaks to like the old verbiage of your network is your net worth. And you gotta leverage it in like everything you do, and knowing the right people, I think makes. I mean, Brad Stevens. Like whenever you first started, I was like, "Holy shit, Doug!" Like, I mean, who was the first episode that you did? Matt Painter.
The head coach at Purdue, who just lost in the NCAA tournament, NCAA championship.
Brutal. But I mean, unreal team.
Yeah.
But like, how nervous were you for that first episode?
If you listen to them, like I said, I don't even listen to my own. But I have there's people who listen to them, and they've told me that you can tell the way it started. I was nervous.
It was good though. You were very if you want to go back and listen to our first podcast, we had I don't know if you know Eric Gaber, that was up at Westminster. We literally had a podcast in the middle of a table, and we all were talking around it. So
we had one singular mic in the middle, and then we just sat around it and talked about random stuff.
Yeah,
that was like the very first. Yeah,
listen to yours though. It was solid, man.
Well, thank you.
First one.
I did a lot of research before. Like we knew we were going to launch it in November, so 2-3 months before that, I was listening to other podcasts. I was doing research on how to grow it, on like how do I get the best information from guests, because if Matt Painter is going to be your first person on there, like he can't be coming with blanks,
Right.
So just did a lot of research beforehand. I have about 5 Excel sheets of information and notes and like people that we've had on and people that I want to get and a bunch of different things. Like I'm to the point where I'm OCD, where I'm too organized sometimes.
You have
color
to be
coordinated, all this stuff where it helps. But just do your research, and like I said, I got lucky with good people around me.
Yeah. Going back to the social circle part though that you were talking about, have you read a book called Never Eat Alone?
No.
Never? You should check it out. I randomly downloaded the ebook on a flight because I was like needed something to listen to, and it turns out the guy's from here that wrote it. But it basically just talks about like how the power of meeting one person's circle, introducing them to other people's circle.
Yeah.
Even if it doesn't benefit you,
yeah,
like right away, just having them connected, and then them remembering that you were the one that connected them, and then comes back to be good karma later on in life. But the power of the social circle is just crazy. And I think you've probably started experiencing it in your sales gig, and you've experienced it in coaching, and I've started to experience it in filmmaking and everything. It's insane.
People, people I feel like are still good to this day. You know, like people still want to see you do good, and they're willing to help you out with things. You know, and I feel like everything that I've done, I'm like, ask for help. Like, ask for somebody's opinion. Like we were talking, I mean, before this, and talking about you asking about podcast advice, and like you reach out to somebody, and like, and that guy that we were talking about of the level that he's at is still willing to help you out.
Yeah.
You know, like,
hop on a call. And, I mean, I'm the type of person where truthfully, I think I have better relationships with the janitors and the cafeteria workers at Chatham than I do some of the people that I work with. Just because, and why? Like, how does this pertain? Mainly because, like, you don't know who those people are. Prime example, one of the cafeteria workers, I walk in, I'm just talking to her, and she goes, oh, yeah, my son played at Pitt. He's actually coming back, and he's going to potentially be one of the assistant coaches there. I'm like, oh. Okay.
Simple
and she goes,
that.
he played at Pitt, and then my other son, he played football. I forget where he played, but DeMar Hamlin.
Oh,
you know, it's not the mom. It was DeMar's, or this woman, her son was DeMar's roommate in college.
Wow.
And she's just telling me all these stories. She goes, yeah, no, my son talked to DeMar and all this, and I'm just like, huh. So you don't even know who those people are, and then another guy who was a security guard with Duquesne, and he knows the Duquesne basketball staff and all this, and I'm just like you don't know who these people are, but you might look at them and say, oh, they're just cafeteria workers. They're not. They're people.
100%.
Yeah.
Everybody's got a story, and at the end of the day, like, be a nice person to them too.
Yeah,
Like,
you don't know.
Just do the right thing, and it always works out, really.
Every job I have received, every single job, has been either knowing somebody or knowing somebody who knew somebody. You know, like this position I got, Richards called me about. The Kiski job, I knew somebody who knew the head coach over there. They called him and said, hey, you should take this guy. And West Minnie, right? Like, Danilov called me. I mean, even my sales jobs, people reference me and all of that stuff. Like, it's all because of connections. Indians job, Cavs job, like all that stuff that I had, it's all because of connections.
Yeah.
do you see yourself being a head coach one day?
Oh, for sure. For sure. Where? When? I don't know.
Yeah.
I truthfully, I'm not in a rush. I had a goal, and I wanted to do it by the age of 30. Now I'm kind of setting back more and thinking, like, just be patient. You know, it'll come. So.
Do you... I've, like, went back and forth with this one, too. Do you set timestamps on your goals? Do you need to set timestamps on your goals?
I think it's important, too, for some of them. Because otherwise, you'll get lazy and you'll just feel like, oh, I'll get to it. It's there. But if you don't have a deadline, then what's the motivation?
Yeah. Depending on the goals.
Yeah.
Yeah. Like I said, like becoming a head coach by 30, it's very doable. Very doable. But I'm not going to get a head coach at a Division I job. For sure not. Like, obviously. But I'd rather move up the chain. I'm not going to be able to do that I'll be able to move up the chain. I'm not going to be able to get a head coaching job by 30. And I want to move up the chain is more interest to me. So it all depends on, to your point, it all depends on the goals. Yeah. Like specific goals, yeah, I agree. I think you should.
Yeah. I think, certain things, like if you set monetary goals that you want to hit by like this month or something, like, yeah, for sure. But I think like a long-term thing, like a coaching job, like a head coach, I don't know. I would still feel fulfilled even if like I was a head coach at 35 versus 30.
That's like one of those big like life goals that I just don't know if you could put like a deadline on it, because it's probably going to take longer than you expect.
Yeah.
People don't get it until their 50s.
Right.
100%. Like,
so it's like if you give up at 30, then you're just watching your dream die, like when you're still so young, honestly.
That's a good point. Like being a dad or something. You know, if I want to be a dad, why set a hard date on being a dad? You know?
Don't do that.
Yeah. Like, oh, I need to be a dad at 28. You're like, no, but I'm not ready at 28. You know? So like I feel like there's certain things that you can get away with doing. Do you think like head coaching at a high school level is like the point of no return to move up? Or do you have to get the head coaching job at a college level first to move up?
If you kill it at a high school, and you're showing that you can do good, coaches are going to be, one, recruiting your kids, so you're going to be meeting these connections, meeting these other coaches, and then two, those people will see, I like what he does. Like, I like the way he does this. I mean, there was who was it? This one guy who took a position at a Division II job over here, had one good season.
Yeah, the coach that used to coach at NSU in Florida, Nova
him
South
too,
Western, and then he goes up to Gannon.
Yep.
The guy that went up to
That's exactly
Gannon.
what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
Yep.
And now he's
Jordan Fee.
Yeah, Florida.
Now he took a Division
Gulf
I job.
Coast, right?
Yeah, I believe so.
Or Florida Atlantic. Florida Atlantic.
I'm not sure. I forget where he went, but I knew. Yeah, he killed it at a position. Ended up going down and getting a head Division I job because he killed it. Now, granted, that's Division II. That's a college. High school, I think if you're killing it, people will know.
Yeah.
You do your job well, people will know.
Mm-hmm.
What do you think's like the most important thing you've learned in your coaching journey so far?
I mean, most important thing I would say is, and like I said, I'm going to say it 100 times, but just meeting the people that you meet, but then never be afraid or never think you're too good for something. Like I said, I mean, I'm the one who does the laundry occasionally for Chatham, right? And I'm like, I do little things like that. I'm a 28-year-old assistant coach. Like, why am I doing the laundry? Well, you're not too big for a role. Whether you're in a sales job, like if somebody asks you to go, hey, take this, small sale, we don't really need it, but go take it and just close it out, kill that thing, because now you showed, okay, you can kill that. Now we're going to put you on a bigger assignment, stuff like that.
Right.
But I would say the biggest thing is no role is too small or too big for you.
I agree. I think the worst saying ever is that's not my job.
That is, yeah, that's bad.
Well, as soon as you hear someone say that, you're like, ooh.
Yeah.
It's like a red flag immediately. But if you're the guy that says, you know what, it's not my job, but I'm going to do it anyway.
Yeah.
Then it's like, don't half-ass it.
Yeah.
Kick ass at it and do it.
Yeah.
Right there with you.
Those type of people are the worst, though, if they just complain about everything and they never get anywhere.
Or like the people that drop shit on the floor and they're like, that's what they have the janitor for. You're
Yeah,
like,
that's
dude,
real
I want to fight. Like, I want to fight
you.
you.
Do that, like,
I want to fight you. Like, or you see somebody that does that and you're like, are you serious, man?
Yeah. It's insane.
Like, that's not my job. Like, I'm not going to do that. Like, I'm not going to clean up the stove. That's not my job. Like, that was a big thing in college. And like,
right.
I remember someone left like the kitchen's just filthy one day and they were like, yeah, the janitor will get it. I'm like, dude, what? Clean this up.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know. Just people out there that are like, that's not
it's the
good.
mindset and who the people are, and they're showing you who they are by just saying it. They think of other people as smaller than them.
Yeah.
Essentially, and it's like, well, who are you?
It's terrible. It's
Big
terrible.
ego thing.
It's absolutely terrible. So, what was the last time that you said you were starstruck in a podcast interview? There ever like a oh shit moment? Like, wow, we're really getting this guy.
Brad Stevens, for sure. I would say would be the number one because my co-host always likes to mess with me on this. He calls me a Stevie, like Swifty. Yeah, because I like if there was anybody who I studied on a day-to-day basis during COVID, I was like, I got to find ways to come out of this better than I was, right? Because COVID, you're sitting around, what are you doing all day? You couldn't do anything, you couldn't leave your house. So I'm like, I got to find ways to become better. So I started studying a bunch of film. Brad Stevens was one of the people. And getting him on, being able, the oh shit moment was when his face popped up. And I'm like, sat up in my seat real quick, like, all right, we're going to do this. But I'd say him, and then we've had some NBA coaches on. I would say like Nate McMillan, who was former Atlanta Hawks coach. He was a good one. Just some of those big names, as soon as their faces pop on, you're just like, oh, okay. Like we had the Purdue's athletic director on talking about hiring coaches and how does that work and all that. So just as soon as that face popped up, it's just
Stevens, for sure. Yeah, and especially like a guy that you look up to. How do you watch film on a coach? Like,
not on a coach, but on his tendencies, on his plays.
On his okay.
Yeah, like what plays does he run? Like, okay, coming out of a timeout in the third quarter, it's a close game. What play does he run? He runs this. Okay, is that something he maybe keeps in his back pocket? Like things like that. And you watch a couple games of them, and you can start to see tendencies and some things that are. Once you watch more than one game, you can see certain games like, okay, well he does this pretty frequently. Like this is something that he likes to do, or this was probably something he put in just for this game because they did something unique.
Yeah.
It's
a good way. I wouldn't have, like being a player, you always watch the players. So then you got to watch the team as a whole.
Oh,
that's a whole different ballgame. Yeah.
It's poetry.
It is.
Yeah.
If not basketball, what sport would you choose? Baseball?
For sure.
Did you play during high school and everything?
I played at high school and I played a year in college.
Okay, nice.
Yeah. I bet you don't even know that.
What position
I think
did
you
you play?
told me that. You pitched, right?
I was a pitcher.
I was like, you look like a pitcher.
Yeah.
Big lefty.
Lefty.
Big lefty.
No, honestly, so when I was growing up, baseball was always, I was better in baseball, because I was a 6'8" lefty, so I was throwing like mid to low, no, not mid, excuse me, high to low 80s and then low 90s. Like I think I hit 90, 91 at one point for a fastball.
Damn.
Nice.
But it was just like I didn't love it, you know. And people would always tell me like, "Oh, you should be following that." Yeah, but I drag myself to baseball practice, but basketball practice, I'm there 30 minutes before. You know, I'm in the gym, I'm sitting there waiting. Like, why can't hurry this time up because I want to start practice?
Yeah.
And it's just like if you don't love it, I couldn't find myself do it. So college, I came back around, and my high school coach actually called me. And he goes, "You need to get back on the mound." I got some MLB scouts calling for me. And I'm like, he goes, "They need a tall lefty." I'm like, "I don't know if you're messing with me or not." But, so I was all right. I knew a guy who, his dad on my team, on John Carroll's team, his dad got drafted. So I called him and I was like, "Hey, how would you feel about doing some workouts over the summer? Like, I could pay you for it." He goes, "Don't worry about it." And apparently his dad loved every second of it just because he got to, you know, get back out there, throw the ball around. Like, he hasn't done that in a while because he's had kids. So he put me through some workouts. I started to get conditioned and ready for college. And then, of course, basketball, we went to the NCAA tournament, had an extremely huge run, and I missed the first month of baseball. So my arm wasn't conditioned. As soon as baseball came about, I mean, you don't just go out there and start throwing 90 miles per hour off the mound without
blowing your arm apart.
Right. Yeah. So it takes time to progress that and get the strength back up and get all that. So by the time I was good, it was like the end of the season, and you're not going to put me in the end of the season at that, you know.
Right.
So, and then there, I'm like, you know what? I like basketball too much. I don't want to.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You can't force somebody to do things, and I think a lot of parents do that too. A lot of times it's like, "Oh, but you'll be really good at this, so like you'll do that."
It's like a slippery slope, I feel like, for parents, because it's like you kind of have to force kids sometimes to do it, and then maybe they'll just click and be like, "Oh, this is really fun. I love it."
Yeah.
But then also let them follow like their natural.
I don't know
whatever.
what I would do like as a parent, man, because I played football, basketball, and baseball, and I don't know how I feel about football. Like, I'm definitely not gonna push my kid to like do football, but if he comes to me, he's like, "Hey, Dad, I really want to play football," I'd be like, "All right, you can play football."
Yeah.
But I don't know. That's so tough.
It's
like,
tough
what do you do? I don't know. What do you do as a parent? You know, if you're a parent, are you like, "Hey, here's a basketball kid"? Do you give them like little hints? You like roll a basketball to them?
Yeah. See, I gotta say,
probably would.
I was fortunate. My dad gave me like, he told me, I think you'd be good at this. I think you should try baseball. He never pushed it. He always said like, "I think you should try it," and I'm like, "All right," but he never pushed it. Like if I said no, he go, "Okay."
Yeah.
You know, he never pushed it. So I'd say that's what I would do, especially for me. If I had a kid, he's probably going to be tall. And if that kid played football, he's going to come across the middle and get hit by a middle linebacker, and that kid won't have bones anymore. So to be honest with you, no, I'm not going to push him. If he wants to, go ahead. But then the hospital bills might be kind of expensive. But I mean, I was fortunate enough to be able to grow up and have like you choose your life. We'll guide you the right way. We'll support you whatever you do. So that's kind of how I'll do it. You know, like, I feel like that's probably the best way.
I'm sure you see parents too, especially, I mean, you brought it up, AAU games, high school games, that you see them and they're like, that's the parent that's forcing their kid to do this.
Oh, yeah.
Right. Or they're living through their kid, too.
Yeah. The number one pet peeve I have when I'm recruiting a kid, I can name multiple kids, and you would probably know them, and I won't say their names, but a couple kids you watch, as soon as they go out on the floor, they make a mistake, they have a turnover, they start walking back. First thing they do, what do?
Look at Dad.
Yep. Look right at Dad.
Yep.
Why? Because who's controlling that game right now? That dad is in that kid's head more than anybody on that court, because he knows he's going to have that conversation after the game, like, you didn't live up to my expectations or all this. Like, they're trying to make you proud, you know? It's just you're completely ruining that kid.
Yeah. I had an AAU basketball coach, and my dad was awesome with basketball, football, everything. But like, that was my habit. I think it was like 4th or 5th grade, and because he was always my coach, so like I would look up at him. And he's like, the one day at practice, missed up, had a turnover or something. I looked up at my dad. He grabbed me. He was like, "Stop looking up at your dad." And I'm like, I didn't mean to. He's like, "Look at me." He was like, "You look at me." And I'm like, "All right." Next play, I messed something up. I looked at him. He was like, "You're good." You know?
Yeah.
And like that makes like a world of a difference, I think, whenever you can like break the mold of doing it too. But
Right.
it's I know it for sure. I mean, I stopped doing it in middle school, high school, but I knew dudes that did it in college at Westminster.
Oh yeah.
And you're like, bro, for real? Like your their parents are up there just cheering you on at this point.
Yeah.
Like,
When I tell you the one big thing that I have learned about just coaching in general, it is way more of a psychologist job than it is in a coaching job.
facts.
Honestly, like the amount of conversations that I have had with kids, sit them down one-on-one, hey, you know, this and this and this and my family and, you know, back home, like I could go through a list of 4 to 5 people at West Mini. Chatham, same thing. You pull kids aside, like there's a kid specifically who wouldn't shoot a jump shot, and I would pull him aside and be like, why aren't you shooting? It's in my head. I'm like, all right, well, then get it out. You know?
Shoot.
Yeah,
Yeah.
like I tell them all the time, I'm like, coach, pull you out for shooting? No. Okay, then who are you afraid of right now? Like, you're afraid of yourself. You know, it's in your own head. I'm huge on the mental psyche. Like, if you just got to keep your head straight. So that's the one thing that I've always preached on with kids too.
It's such a big thing in sports. I mean, from basketball to baseball, like you'll see pitchers that, I mean, what's his name? Mitch Keller, like at the beginning of this year. I mean, you know, he got off an injury and everything, but like dudes get it in their head. They're like, oh, I just got off this injury. Like, I'm not the player I used to be.
Yeah.
I mean, it's crazy. And I know that there was a study out there about people who are self-aware. You know, who's the number one most self-aware profession in the world? And it was all these professions, doctor, pilot, everything. Number one most self-aware profession was professional athletes.
Really?
Yep. You know
That's
what?
crazy.
You get stats immediately after your games, and you're like, I suck. You know, this was my fault. I see the
You
stats.
hear it from fans.
Hear
you
it from fans. Hear it from social media. Search it up.
That's
But
a good
I was
one,
reading
actually, though.
yeah.
It makes a lot of sense. I mean,
Lot of-
you think about like pitchers or golfers or, I mean, any athlete, like so much pressure is on you to perform because now it's your job. And then you see the social media. It's almost like you can't be on social media as an athlete.
Yeah, yeah.
Because it's just terrible for you. You see all the negativity about you and your performance or about your teammates. So I think that's part of the reason we've seen the rise in the last like 5-10 years of like sports psychologists, and a lot of like college programs have started to bring them in, even like the D3 level, just to like talk to teams, talk to players, you know.
We have one.
Yeah.
Really?
Now, how many guys do you use them? I don't know.
I think it'd
Probably
be
not
great.
enough.
Yeah, I mean, I think it'd be a great thing because I know that there's points in time in my like high school career, even like somewhat college career, that like you. I mean, just like talking to someone else that's like not affiliated, I probably would have helped.
Oh
you
yeah.
know?
I mean, it's good to be able to just discuss it with somebody. You know.
Yeah.
Talk about it. And it's not like one of your coaches. That's why I was one of those. Especially, I learned over the time. You just gotta. Just pull the kids aside and talk to them, you know, one-on-one. Like, what's up? I can tell you're not you. You know, something's going on. And just hearing that from somebody, I feel like, even if, not saying I don't, but even if you don't mean it and you just ask somebody, I'm sure they're just going to be like, you know, they kind of loosen up a little bit. Like, all right, I feel a little bit better.
Right. Like, oh, he cares.
Yeah.
Like, oh,
Yeah.
he wants to know what's going on.
That's the number. They just be genuine about it.
Right. I think that's so many people, like, or so many coaches I've always heard, like, oh, I'm a player's coach. Like, oh, I'm a player's coach. Then you watch me, you're like, bro, you're not a player's coach.
No.
Like, you could care less about the players, like in this situation, you know?
Yeah.
Like versus if you're an assistant coach and like pulling someone aside, that's a player's coach talking to them. Yeah.
I'll be the first one to say, no, you're ass today. Like, you're playing like shit.
Right.
But at the same point, I'll be the first one to come over when you're doing good and be like, dude, you're killing it. I don't need to say anything to you. Just do what you're doing, you know?
Yeah. I think so many coaches too are like, I'm a player's coach. Don't work on a player's development. Don't work on like them getting better at all. And it's like, how do you call yourself a player's coach at the end of the day? You know, everybody wants to hear that. Oh, I'm a player's coach. Oh, I'm a
Right.
player's coach.
Yeah.
I care about my players. But
I got one last good one to close it out today.
yes.
All right.
Is PA basketball or Ohio basketball better?
Ooh.
Yes.
Dang.
You have both experience. I'm so glad you asked that. Both experiences. You've lived in Pittsburgh, coached in Pittsburgh, played basketball in Ohio, played in the OAC.
I'm
What is it?
biased.
Okay. Oh, here we go.
I'm biased. I mean, I'll be honest with you. I feel Pittsburgh people don't take basketball as intense in Pittsburgh. I don't think. I'm not saying it's not an intense thing. I just don't think people take it as intense
I agree.
as other places. You know, especially because you don't have an NBA team, so you don't have people to, you know, like thinking about it all the time.
Yep.
Like Cleveland, that's all they think about because that's one of our, now that the Browns are relevant, somewhat relevant, you know, but it's like the Cavs were always, of anybody, the best team of them all. So they were a basketball town.
Right.
And living there for 6 years, that helped. So I guess to answer it, like, back in Youngstown, I don't think it's anything crazy. There's certain spots, you know, depending on where you're talking. Overall in Pennsylvania, I would say, I'm going to be the biased one and say Ohio has it.
Okay.
But just because of certain spots. Like Columbus is good. They have some good guys out there. Like here, you might be able to find some people in Philadelphia. You'll be able to find some people in Philadelphia. Like you'll find some good ones in Pittsburgh for sure. But overall, it might even be close.
Yeah.
I would say it's close.
I think when you put Philly into the mix,
if we're talking the whole state.
If we're talking the whole state, I'm biased just because I know like the Philly side, but I played with a team that was all Ohio black, and they were all kids from Columbus. Best group of dudes that I've ever played with. I'm like, I just should not be on this team at all. Like they were legit. But I think it is very close because Columbus, Cleveland's very good. And then like I think Youngstown and Pittsburgh's like pretty comparable.
Yeah.
Because they're both football.
For sure, football.
Yeah.
100% football. Like Northeast Ohio, all is football. Nobody talks about basketball up there.
Yeah. Do you agree with Austin Rivers that 10 guys could play into the NFL?
Oh,
that's
a good
30.
one.
30. That's
He
right.
said 30.
30's a big number.
30
a big
I don't
number.
agree with.
Yeah, 30's a big number.
You could find 10.
Yeah.
For sure.
100%.
You could find 10. Now, what positions would they be? Are you trying to form a whole team? They wouldn't be able to make a whole team because you got no linemen.
No.
Like Jokic is going to be your lineman. He's
You're in trouble. You're in trouble. He wants to go horse racing. He doesn't care about blocking a guy.
But when it comes to, or like LeBron, just builds wise, they could be wideouts, you know, or some of those dudes. You don't find many short, stocky dudes to be able to be like a halfback or a fullback or anything.
Right.
Or I should say a halfback.
Maybe like a Kyle
You
Lowry.
can find your guys.
Yeah.
You can find your guys. Now, same thing, vice versa. Football guys are a lot more aggressive. I mean, I'm sure everybody has played basketball with a football guy in a wreck, and they just bulldoze through. Like, they're going to be a lot more aggressive. They'll probably foul out relatively quickly, but they'd be a good 6-man to put in to go rough somebody up to bring your center back in after, you know?
Exactly. Yeah.
So you could find uses for them. I think it could go both ways, but who would be better is the question.
Oh.
Who would be better? Now, it all depends on the personnel you take, too.
Yeah.
Yeah. I don't know. Man.
I think basketball is more of a sport where you need to work on, like, how many guys are you going to just pull who have never touched a basketball before and be able to dribble and shoot?
It's tough to do. It's very tough to do.
Football, you could be strong,
Catch a
you could be
football.
built, and you can if you catch basketball, you can catch, I shouldn't say that. I'll stop myself there.
Yeah.
You can catch a football. Now, if it's coming from a quarterback throwing 90 miles per hour at you, it's different. But you could catch a football from a normal person.
Right.
True.
Right. I don't know.
That's a good point.
I don't know what I would have.
Honestly, I think it's closer than we think just because these guys are all freak athletes.
100%.
You know what I mean? So, like, that's the biggest part is, like, the conditioning, just, like, the hand-eye coordination and stuff. Like, some of these guys are able to pick it up so fast. And, like, football, basketball, there's obviously a lot of, like, people who play football at some point in their life, then they go play basketball, or they play basketball in the winter if they're a football player. So, hopefully they have some experience.
Maybe they do a
You know?
game. Maybe they do a game.
Maybe that's the
like
way to settle
basketball,
it.
they do a game, and then I don't know, maybe
NBA puts a team out,
But, like,
NFL puts a team out.
You can't
and
even simulate.
cool.
You
That'd
couldn't
be
even-
fun, actually.
That would be really cool. Do it, NFL. Let's put them on it.
Do it, NFL.
put them on notice.
Yeah, literally. I don't know if you could emulate it though, like where you could have because hitting a person in an NFL game, I mean, you can't really
True.
simulate that
Yeah.
with flag football. I don't know.
Some of
Flag.
those guys wouldn't understand how to get, like, basketball has gotten a lot more soft. You know, they're a lot,
yeah.
I shouldn't say soft. The fouls have. They're eyeing down a lot more fouls. You know, they're catching more. They're making it less physical. So as soon
Right.
as somebody were to come onto a football field,
Exactly.
will those guys be able to take those hits? Is the question.
Right. I feel like closing point here, I feel like if you had basketball players on the Kansas City Chiefs and Mahomes was dishing it to him, like receivers, and you had like LeBron at tight end. You know, I think that would be dangerous. And then I think if you put like football players onto a team that's tougher in the NBA, I don't know, like I'm thinking off the top of my head, like the Bucks with like Giannis, and like they were just like smash mouth basketball. I think that would be dangerous too. So I don't know.
Imagine throwing a 10-yard fade to Giannis.
Oh my gosh.
Right? Like
unstoppable.
Little fade route out to the corner.
No chance.
Lob it up.
No chance anyone's stopping
do?
it.
Yeah.
What do you do?
Nothing. There's nothing.
It'd be. I want to see it. Honestly, I want to see a collab.
There should be like a flag football collab and then a 5-on-5 collab.
It'd be pretty cool. Now, would they do it under their contracts? Those are $1 million athletes
They'd
running
probably be
around
like
tackling
risking
each
the
other.
injury.
Yeah, that's a lot of injury opportunity there. So I don't know.
Maybe it's got to be like retired greats to do it or something.
I could see that. I could see that.
We could see
Randy Moss.
something.
Randy Moss could hoop. Randy Moss
for
could
sure.
Hoop. Yeah. That'd be cool. I think they got it. But we'll put a bow on this. Doug, it's always a pleasure, man.
Yeah.
Thank you for letting us come down. Thank you for hanging out and doing the interview. We're looking forward to seeing you do big things.
Yes, sir.
Yeah.
We appreciate it.
I appreciate what you guys are doing, and obviously for having me. Like I said, it's about the people you meet.
That's
know,
it.
and that's why we're here. It's nice to be able to talk with you guys, be able to see you guys again, and no, it's a good opportunity. Happy to be with you guys.
My
Thanks
man.
for having us.
Yeah.
We'll do it again.
It's a wrap.
Peace.
Peace.
Peace.